Welcome to the Sedona Arts Academy. I'm Quinton Jenkins, and I'll be your host for today's activities throughout the afternoon, introducing our various artists and progressing our program today at the Sedona Arts Academy. Once again, I would like to say welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you for attending here in person, and to give a shout out to our friends online. You can check us out at, I believe, www.SedonaArtsAcademy.com. And .org. I stand corrected.
Yeah, it's not .com.
www.SedonaArtsAcademy.org, because we are ORGANIZED. Okay, so.
Or not.
There you have it. As we were talking about earlier, before we came online, I have the lovely lady Karen Loomis here from NoMoss Brands. She's visiting us, and I was about to do a little deeper level dive with you, and I said that I'd save the best for first, okay? Instead of the cliche, the best for last. In the respect that I've worked with you before on another art exhibit from Herschel Turner, and then we have another exhibit today. But is this the regular work that you do with your NoMoss Brands, or help us to know more about Karen?
So, yes and no. As of 2021, this is now the work that I'm trying to do, which is work that is more consistent with social change. Helping people understand other cultures, helping people be more tolerant of others, and looking outside of their own world to see perspectives that perhaps don't live in their front yard. And so I'm a marketer. I'm a technical artist, not a fine artist as we see on here. So my work is more done digitally.
That's what I was going to ask. When you say technical art, is that more through illustration?
In my case, it's all done digitally, all computer work. So I'm technically a graphic designer, and so I bring all of that into any of the work that I do. And so I do Camilla's marketing for her Emerson Theater Collaborative, as well as Sedona Arts Academy, just trying to help people expose them to something bigger than themselves. And so that's been a big change for me. 2020 really brought that forward, how important it is to try to help people have a better and greater understanding of people. And so at the end of 2020 is when I really made a shift in my marketing. Instead of just trying to go after profitable companies and trying to help them become more profitable, all of a sudden after doing this for 20 years, I went, well, wait a minute. Why am I making everybody else wealthier and maybe not myself wealthier? What can I do for good? And that's kind of how I've arrived here.
Okay, that brings up a great set of, a range of topics. I mean, what is it on a granular level that can be done more so in broader society to see, is it just merely inclusion? Is it a wider color scope? Because we know that colors really resonate in the emotional. So is it, because we see some of the, traditional looks at regality, say for example, is like navy blue, and then we see the grays. And guys are kind of tortured because, we only have the range of, the women are always so lucky. You've got the plums and the fuchsias and the, all of these different things with regard to a range and decoration. So in terms of at a granular level, to bring more openness to a brand, how does that pencil in terms of line and structure? Or is it size? Is that some of what you use, or?
I think from a marketing perspective, you always start with who are you? Who is the company that you're working with? What is their working brand? And who are they speaking to? And who they're speaking to is how all of the marketing is created. So when we're creating marketing specifically for Emerson or for Sedona Arts, I'm always looking at ways that, one, the most important thing is if I don't get your attention, then you're not going to see what we're promoting. And so that's what's been really critical for us is really bringing that professional, polished digital images with that higher level marketing and just putting it out there and letting people consume it in the manner that works for them. One of the things that I'm experiencing and most people of color are experiencing is that unfortunately, many of us think we're very worldly and live this really big open life. But truthfully, when we started to, even people like myself and Camilla who really go out of our way to try to expose different cultures, even ourselves, we found ourselves making blunders. For example, one of the things that I think people don't understand is Pakistan is not Middle Eastern. Right. I mean, right? But yet, that's the first thing somebody thinks about when they see somebody that looks like they might have Indian skin tones or that kind of thing. You automatically assume. Actually, Pakistan is South Asia. Get your freaking map out, people. That's what we had to do. Literally, we had to get our map out and realize, you know what? Pakistan is nowhere near Turkey or Israel or any of these other things. And often, you see I'm getting all excited. Often what we find is those maps and that geography that we were taught as kids, those lines, those boundaries, they don't even exist anymore. Some of those places that were named things when we were kids are no longer named the same thing.
Sure,
and if you don't go out of your way to expose yourself to that kind of stuff, then you just live in the past and you don't ever get to move forward. And that's one of the things that I think by opening yourself up to other cultures doesn't mean you have to travel there. We'll bring it to you.
So this is some of the thing that you're saying is a part of how you recontextualize people's images is to, first off, substantiate the authenticity of whatever image and whatever intention they have around that. And then to really include those in an authentic way. Is that the idea?
Yeah, and that's what's really important to Camilla and I as we creatively partner up to come up with what's the artist that's going to go with this play or whom are we bringing in to do some type of event. It's all about how can we just let you have a bit of education and be entertained at the same time.
Well, so that brings up a question, though. What's the different metrics that you might engage in to present a great marketing campaign for a company as opposed to a theatrical brand? Do you have more license to be more creative because it's a theatrical production? Or can you incorporate some of those, or are they universal tenants?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the brand. I came from a really big corporate background, and that particular company was run with the ability of who says we can't do that? So when you have some organizations are set up that allow you that flexibility, but you're still working within the parameter of who that company is,
right?
And
the DNA.
And who people know that company as. That's the other thing. And one of the things that we're doing with Sedona Arts Academy, which has just arrived on the scene as of last year, is we need to put it on the map and let people understand that it's not just arts. It could be poetry, like we've got Sam J. It could be when we had Candace Battle singing the the National Star Spangled Banner for Black America. There's all of these different things that until you have been exposed to it, you don't even know exist. And so even from a marketing perspective, the biggest difference between corporate and more of a theatrical is money. I mean, money speaks when it comes to marketing.
The arts are always probably one of the last people, as a consultant, I already know, one of the last persons to be funded somehow.
Absolutely. And that's a big, huge issue. So whenever Camilla and I are planning our marketing around the events, we know that what we're doing is primarily organic, meaning I depend on you to talk to you, and to have you talk to your friends.
It's grassroots.
Right? It's very grassroots. And that's how theater and arts has survived. But that doesn't mean that we can't do more. And so that's kind of where we're always looking at what more can we do? What more can we offer? For example, not only do we have Sadaf Alam's beautiful art on the walls, but we have Dirty Packy lingerie coming up with Aizzah Fatima. So we've got that. And then following week, we'll have Golda Meir with Golda's Balcony. I mean, there's all different
So
opportunities
yes, if you haven't
for you to
gotten your
learn.
tickets or you didn't understand about that, I think that there's some marketing materials that you can start to be assistive in spreading to your friends and telling folks in the community. And I'm sure we're advertising in the local zines, Kudos and others locally. And so, and just to kind of wrap up from a marketing perspective, what would be ideal for you in terms of the not only programmatic content, but the way that you see a need for the arts in Sedona? What you feel could be massaged a little differently in Sedona?
Sedona's interesting, is the best way I can say it. Just because people are, I don't know whether people are more laid back because they're more retirees.
I think that there's a range of demographic too. There are younger people here. There are a little, I like to call more well-seasoned people here. And then trying to cross-pollinate culture and life arc. Some people are here just to relax. Some people are here to hike and see the other people are here for wellness. So as a marketing strategy, I think it's kind of challenge. Yeah,
so it's interesting. So Cause, who is on the arts board here, he and I were having a conversation about Sedona. We were having a nerdy marketing conversation is really what it comes down to. And we were talking about, you know, what are the demographics of Sedona? And we were talking about the population size. And I think that people are often kind of misled on the size of the city of Sedona. It's small. I mean, what is it, 20,000, 30, 40,000?
I think it's 25,000. 25,000 that live here in the greater, from what I'm understanding, in VOC, Uptown, and West Sedona collectively is 25,000 people year round. And then millions.
Well, see, that's my bigger point.
Annually that make a right or a left at the Y. I'll say it that way.
But what Quinton's saying is it's an important thing from a marketing perspective, is because of COVID. Man, it's tough when you don't get those millions of tourists that we're used to having. We are used to having millions of people come to Sedona that we have not had come here to support the arts. And so it is for that reason that we ask for your donations, because like Broadway, you know, without donations and without you guys attending, our ticket costs do not reflect it does not cover
the event costs,
the productions. And so in order for us to keep doing this, we have to have your support. And with that being said, I donate my time to this. I donate my time because it's that important to me at this point in my life. And so that's kind of how I look at the arts, is, you know, it's kind of my way to give back and to help people learn about others. And that's the most important part.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Loomis.
Thank you, Quinton.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we're going to continue in our programming, and I understand that we have a young man named Sam J. As he's making his way to the stage, I would remind you online to consider making a contribution to the Sedona Arts Academy at www.sedonaartsacademy.org. Any size donation is not too small, and we always like to say it's never too large, okay? Excellent.
I like that.
So, Mr. J, welcome to the Sedona Arts Academy.
It's a pleasure to be here. I love this place.
And so how did you find out about this? So, wait, let me say before that, are you a native of Sedona?
I am not a native of Sedona, no.
Uh-oh, eject button, eject.
Is it gonna pop out the seat or something?
But you're bringing love and poetry and artistry to Sedona, but you're in close proximity, right?
Yep.
Sedona, Cottonwood.
Cottonwood. Yeah, I moved to Cottonwood about 6 months ago from Phoenix, so.
So you're a not so distant relative of Sedona.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
And so then, how did you hear about the Sedona Arts Academy?
I actually met Andrea at the drum circle when I was like my second month living here. Went to a full moon drum circle, and I met a lot of awesome creative people here. And I met Andrea, and she introduced me to Camilla, and I got to perform my poetry for the grand opening of this place. So I've been
Excellent.
here since day one, and it's just been such a blessing to be here.
And so then you're a native of Cottonwood, or?
Actually, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But okay. We appreciate you being here now with us. We see that you've continued to evolve your life.
Hey,
okay.
I appreciate someone sees that.
Forgive me in Wisconsin. Okay. Well, we love you too. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to take these jokes wherever I can get them.
Hey,
Okay.
that's facts. But originally, I was born in Jerusalem, and I moved to Wisconsin when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so when did we start to come into this artistry of poetry? And then you use your poetry as a way to
really express myself and to get the world to see my perspective and my perception of how I see things play out. I use my poetry as a way to speak a voice to the voiceless. A lot of the message that we have is suppressed throughout the media, so just a message of unity, of love, of message of not really needing to basically give up all your rights, all your sovereignty, all the power within your being, and really just take power back into your own life and create a reality that you see susceptible for yourself.
So are you saying that from a cultural perspective because you said you were Israeli?
I was born in Jerusalem. Technically, I'm Israeli, but I consider myself Palestinian.
Okay, so Palestinian, there you are. So, and then you're saying that from the perspective of as a cultural representation of saying you would like to be able to have the context of your culture be recalibrated from a human perspective, or?
Well, exactly. That's a very good point. But also within just my perspective as well, being Muslim American, Palestinian, I have different aspects of my spirituality that really influences my poetry. But yeah, a human first, for sure. A human and a spirit first, definitely. And I don't know, I feel like everybody tries to put us in labels and categories, and I don't really like that. I just feel like everyone's so unique. We all have different eye colors and different, like everything is so unique about us individually. So to put us in a label, a box in this culture and this religion, I find it disheartening because it really disconnects all of us at the end of the day from being humans, from being souls, from being love and light that we are. So I like to just use my music as a way to express my individuality first and foremost, because some of the views that I have not every Muslim might have, not every Palestinian might have, but it's still my views and I hold them true to my heart. And that's just something that like I really want to express with my music and my poetry, because I feel like everyone should be able to express their individuality and what's unique about them and how they see the world, because we all have,
absolutely,
we all should have the right to see the world how we see fit, and just see the world what's our truth for ourselves, and not what our label or our box, our identity, our religion, our culture might see the world for us. Like that's gonna really, I feel like it's gonna limit your perception and it's gonna limit the growth of your own self.
So was your first poetry received in Cottonwood? Did you do your first performances in Cottonwood? And if so, what was the audience resonance with your intention there?
Well, yeah, my first piece of poetry ever was right here on this stage.
So, but you were writing obviously much longer than before. I mean, you didn't improvise.
Right. Well, yeah, I've definitely been writing for a few years, and it's just a way to let myself express. I feel like as men in general, we're kind of ashamed to have emotions, ashamed to really like let our thought patterns flow and just express our uniqueness and our creativity. And especially, I feel like that's been like really suppressed growing up for me, just as a fact of me like having like a very logical mindset and being able to just be a man and being able to provide and success, and that's what your value comes from as a man. So when I started stepping into my creativity, I found a whole love for being able to just express me for what I am and for who I am, and not what I can provide for the world. And so I just started writing poetry for that reason, and it just kind of just took its own form of being able to express myself in all aspects. And it's just been a blessing so far, just to be able to find that hidden passion that I've always had my whole life, but really never had the courage to pursue it.
What an excellent context, Sam. I'm really excited. I understand that you have a few different pieces that you're going to offer for us tonight. And so immediately, what would you say the title of this piece that you're about to perform is? Give us a little bit about it.
Sure. I have a piece of poetry that I'm really passionate about. It's called Unity. And it's really just to express a little bit about myself, because I feel like, the more that I express about myself, people can understand me more and they can connect with me more. And that's like the main piece of my art, is for people to be able to understand me. Maybe it's not easy for me to tell you this and this and that about myself, and sometimes I'm very reluctant to share about myself. But if I can do it in a way that's captivating lyrically, that I feel like, it's something that people can enjoy. Now it's like, I'm introducing myself to you in a way that you can enjoy. And so I feel like it's just a win-win.
At the highest version of yourself.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I've often found that consistent with other actors and entertainers that I've interviewed, whereby a alias, because many times the actor's name isn't what the name is that they are portraying, when they're on stage, is the best iteration of themselves.
For sure.
So without any further ado, I thought I saved the best for first, but I might have been mistaken. Ladies and gentlemen, and I've been asked to ask you to look into just that camera for our friends online. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of love for Sam J.
Thank you. Okay. Unity. So this is called Unity. It's actually a song that I'm making into an album. And I'm putting a part of my album, but I am really compelled to share this with you guys tonight. I feel that it's just a message that I feel like can spread globally and universally, and I just feel really inspired to share it. So I hope you guys enjoy. Unity. I see a better world for you and me. No self-inflicted problems, just some unity. You see, it's time to love ourselves unconditionally, and it's time we make it out, and that's all I can see. I see a better world for you and me. I see a better world for humanity. A world where we can transcend insanity. A world where we love each other and not the Gucci. If you can see it too, manifest with me. Because we are all one, that's not a fallacy. You see, there's no difference between you and me, and it's time to make it out, and that's the prophecy. Thank you. I got one more I could share with you guys. For now, maybe I might have a little more later, so stay tuned. Okay, so, Unity. Okay, so this one I actually wrote for the Dirty Packy Lingerie, and I feel that it's actually gonna be it's gonna be sweet to be able to open up for it. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. Oppression. Oppression teaches a powerful lesson. It inspires our hearts to ask the question. An intervention so we can think in a way that disrupts the oppressor's intention. Claiming purity, but ain't purer than you or me. How is spreading fear and hating your divinity? It's hypocrisy. I call it insanity. Because people always got something to say, but never care about an enlightened humanity. Suppressing sexuality instead of teaching us how to be healthy from within. To suppress ourselves so we're trying to end up in escaping sin. But the ego of our shadow is so crowded, it won't let us in. The medicine is to express sensuality with the essence that is godly. For our darkness and our light to be one, so then we can just become free from guilt and blame, release the shame, all of the trauma that just weighs on our brain, to express the soul so you can just glow. That's the only way to grow, to expand the God within, yet to express your devil. Thank you.
Welcome to Sedona Arts Academy, Aizzah.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, tell us about. I want to know everything, Aizzah.
All right, so I was born on March 3rd. It was a cold day.
The Reader's Digest version, of course.
Okay, of course.
Oh no, the
A
Sedona
brief-
Arts Academy version. Let me do it that
Yes,
way.
a brief version. Okay, so yeah,
The theatrical version.
The theatrical version? Okay, I can do that. First of all, I'm so thrilled to be here, and it's so exciting to honestly be performing in these times. I'm so grateful to Camilla, to Karen, to Melinda, everyone who has been working so hard, all the behind-the-scenes people for putting the show together. It's, you know, as artists and performers, it's like my entire career ended on March 16th, 2020. I had all these events planned, and it just all of a sudden went away because everything shut down. We were in a complete lockdown. I live in New York City. We were in a complete lockdown. So, you know, until like June, July. And honestly, it's really nice to be performing again. This is my first live performance in front of an audience in like a little over a year. Yeah, so.
And so I wanted to ask you though, during the COVID, did that affect your? Did you see other chapters? Did you see other things coming in? Were you doing more writing?
You know, I have to say, I think in some ways it was a blessing too, because it did allow me to do a lot more writing because there was nothing else to do. So I actually, I did, and these characters, I've been performing this show. I started in 2011 was the first time I ever did it in New York City. It's been 10 years. It's evolved a lot over the years, but about 8 years ago, believe it or not, I got together with an American Muslim female filmmaker. Her name is Iman Zawari. She's amazing. She's won an Emmy and a bunch of other awards for her short films. We turned these characters into a feature film, and that's actually, I'm like so thrilled. It's coming out next month.
Wow.
It's world premiering.
Does it have a working title?
It does. The title is called American-ish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
That's nice.
It's really nice, and I'm just super, super excited to just get it out into the world. We have some amazing actors who are in it, so it's like, as opposed to me playing 6 women, you get to see other people playing these other characters. Now, I didn't pull in Eddie Murphy. I didn't play all the characters.
Well, I was kind of divining Sybil there for a minute when you were saying that you played all of these characters.
No,
huh?
but for the film version, not so much.
The same version, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been working on that just this last year, editing, and I'm just thrilled it's finally coming out into the world. That and just other plays. I have actually a TV show that I've been writing and pitching. So it was surprisingly a blessing because I got to do these other things I never get to do. I think as performers sometimes we're so like in that day-to-day of like, oh, gotta go audition, gotta do this class, gotta do that you don't step back, like think, like probably most of us have this last year, and kind of really taken stock of the things we want to do and put out into the world. And I think for me that has been more creative, just writing. Yeah.
So now, Aizzah, as we were talking, and thank you for that all, but as we were talking earlier, would you, let's rewind a little bit, and I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive with you, because this is a one-woman show, but we were talking about the perspective of the way that you wrote the show and the way you developed the characters and what your hopes were for them through the lens of, and I was suggesting maybe it was through the lens of being Muslim or, something, or just as a woman, from a woman's perspective. And you were giving me something a little provocative along the way, because I said, how did it get to be that you wanted to, did you have a download and all of a sudden something said, I need to write about women's dirty laundry? And then, so we went from there. I had to get that in because she said it was a little bit provocative, even in other cultures. But interestingly, though, through your lens, because there's an American context whereby we see Muslims as a certain type with a certain kind of construct societally. Yeah. So, and you were speaking to some of those in your character. Could you talk to us about that?
I think it's so fascinating. So I grew up in a very small town in Mississippi in the South. And what's so interesting is, like, when I was growing up, nobody ever talked about this hyphenate identity, right? Which is not just Muslim, not just Pakistani, but it is actually American Muslim and American Pakistani, because Pakistan is another entity. That's a country. I do not belong to that country. I wasn't born there. I've never lived there. You know what I mean? So for me to say I'm Pakistani, I feel really not right about that. I'm not, and I am American, but I have this whole other side to me too, which I have inherited from my family, which is the Pakistani side. So it's so interesting. In the last few years, like 4 or 5 years just alone, I think in our American vocabulary, this new kind of hyphenate identity has been introduced, which existed before because there's always been immigrants. There were Italians who came over and became Italian Americans, and there were Jews who came over and became Jewish American, but I think because Muslims are maybe the newest wave of immigrants, that it's taken them a little bit longer to for us as a society in America to catch on. Okay, you can be Muslim and you can also be American. You can be those two things, and that's okay. And I guess a lot of the show kind of just talks about that from various different female perspectives. And it's interesting you asked, it's changed so much over the years. When I first wrote it, I think for me, it was I'm going to show these people what this female perspective looks like, because I just thought there was so much misinformation around what Muslim women looked like in America that I was just well, I never see myself being portrayed in those images I see on TV or film or any media, or like the bearded dude with the sword, going Allahu Akbar, and then I'm whoa, I've never even seen that. Who is that person? But then that's the only image you see of Muslim in America, and so I guess for me it was a lot about educating other people outside of the community. But I think it's really been, in a way, humbling and gratifying to me that when I first started performing, my first few performances were in New York, and we had one particular performance, there was a large hijabi audience, so visibly Muslim audience, women who cover their hair. Sure. Somebody might look at me and people half the time think I'm Hispanic because I live in New York, I have curly hair, I blend in. But I think when you wear the hijab, you're visibly very much Muslim. It's hard to mistake that for anything else. And it was really nice to have these women afterwards come up and be oh, thank you for showing me on stage. I've never seen that before. And I think in the process of doing it, I kind of realized how important it is for people to feel like they're being seen and heard, especially when you come from minority communities that often don't get seen or heard.
Well, and sometimes what I've found, not necessarily through the same lens, but in a cultural context, is that even your peers from your similar culture might have a different opinionation because maybe they feel like what you're portraying is solely your process and not indicative of, say, for example, all Muslims or all Pakistanis.
Absolutely. Look, I have definitely, after shows, I've had people come up to me and be why did you do that one thing? I was I don't know, it's the character did the thing. It's the character told me to do the... No, but it's so interesting, but I think that's the idea of doing a show like this. It's the American Muslim community is not a monolith in thought or practice. There are so many different ways of being, just like any other community, not all white people are the same, not all black people are the same. It's
and that's a big cliche, isn't it?
Yeah, we all kind of get lumped into one thing. So I think that's one of the things I actually honestly tried to do with the show, and that's why we have characters that range from a 6-year-old to a 65-year-old.
That's what I was going to ask about next. How was it that you constructed the different phases?
Yeah.
And why did you feel like, I mean, a lot of writers that I talk to say that when they're finally at that chapter, at the end chapter, they don't feel like the work may be complete and maybe there's something that can be done to massage it. So why those 6 characters, and is it adequate for you to have told the story that you were hoping to tell when you started to write the play?
You know, this show has evolved so much, especially in the first 4 or 5 years of its existence. I constantly kept rewriting it, and my director was very heavily involved, Erica Gould. She's brilliant, and I couldn't have done it without her, honestly. I would perform, she would watch it, and she'd be like, okay, what about this? Like, move it this, move that. And then there came a point, a couple of years into doing the show, where I really pushed for this idea. I wanted to talk about racial profiling that was happening in New York a lot. So after 9/11, there were Muslim men who were taken away. Nobody knew where they were. This happened in New York. It happened in New Jersey. They were taken away by, and you know, the New York Times broke the story in 2013 that the NYPD was spying on Muslims. And it was not sanctioned by the FBI. This was the NYPD doing it. And when the story broke, the NYPD then finally admitted that, yes, we were doing it. And then they say they shut down that, you know, but it was such a well-known fact.
That investigation, right.
It was such a well-known fact in the Muslim community. So we had, I got an email, so I was on a random email chain, and somebody was trying to raise funds for a family with 4 daughters. They ranged from, I think, like a 2-3-year-old to like an 11-year-old girl. And their dad had been taken away only because his name happened to be Muhammad something or another. And that name happened to be on some terrorist watch list. It was a total case of mistaken identity. But the guy was taken away from the family for like a year at that point. They didn't know where he was. His property was confiscated. He was the sole breadwinner. The family had no way of like living. So the community was trying to raise funds. And when I started digging deeper into that story, and then I was like, man, I really want to tell that story. I want to explore what it feels like to be a young girl who's, I'm getting emotional, but like whose father has been taken away. And how do you make sense of that world? But it's funny. So
how do you find the resilience in those circumstances? Correct.
Yeah. So that actually piece in the play is the only piece that's kind of been constructed just based on some research I did. I'm gonna need those. No, it still gets to me, you know, because this happened so much within Muslim communities, and like the world is just not aware of it, you know. But anyway, so I kind of, a couple of years in, I really pushed to get this story into the play. And for a long time, like Erica and I, my director, we kind of fought about it. She's like, no, it doesn't belong in the play. It's like packy lingerie. It's about women. We can't bring a little girl. But then, you know, we found a way. But I think that's what collaboration is. You know, theater is a collaborative thing. You're always working with other people and taking in their ideas and opinions, and then you create something great together. I couldn't do something in a bubble by myself.
And so is Paki just short for Pakistani lingerie?
Yeah, it is, you know, but in America, yeah, I mean, I made that up. It's a word I use like for fun or with just my own siblings, but you know, in like Europe, it has a very different context.
I was interested.
Which I was kind of aware of, but I had never really, you know. So in the UK in the 80s, there were these like very like, you know, Paki bashings they're called, and people would like, you know, like white supremacists would go after brown men and call them Paki. It's like the N-word. It's the N-word.
Right.
In the UK, it is like that, right? And I was kind of aware of it, but it's so funny, like when you create something. In my living room, basically, I never thought anybody would ever even read it, let alone like it would travel across, you know, to other continents. But yeah, I didn't mean for the word Paki to be provocative in the way it has become provocative when I have traveled the show abroad. Sometimes like entire news articles get written about just the word, the use of the word, and they're like, oh, are you reclaiming it? And I was like, no, not my thing, but okay.
Well, and then Camilla and I were speaking about it earlier today, and she said that when she had sent out the marketing for it, that she got a lot of internet responses saying, what part of the show are women going to be in lingerie? and or is that substantial, or is that actual?
Yeah.
And so it was a little provocative.
Little provocative. You know, I have to say, like, the show, I would say, is very family
And I
friendly.
don't blame the men that called in either.
That called in. It's great. There is lingerie in the show. It is not on me. so sorry to disappoint. I like to think the play is a little bit more thought-provoking than just that, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. So when I was writing this, it was actually part of a writing class, and at the end of the class, the guy who was teaching it is like very successful, writes for Disney and stuff, and he's amazing. And his advice was, he was just like, you know, you guys, if you're gonna get this out into the world, you'll be doing a lot of festivals, make sure you have a catchy title. And so, because when people are looking through a sea of shows, your title needs to stand out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna come up with a catchy. I'm like a worker bee. You give me a task, I'll do it. You know?
Right.
So when he said catchy, I was like, I'm gonna come up with a catchy title.
And so with Puckett Lingerie, you said you've been performing it through this span of time, and so how are you seeing that the show is evolving? I mean, because I've also been aware by live performers that the DNA is there in the presentation, and sometimes a specific actress or actor will make sure that all of the words are there. But you're feeling differently each night, and so that's one question. And then the other question I would have is, how do you see? What would you see would be a final end game for you? I mean, I hear you have that it's coming into a book form or this kind of thing. So, what kind of hopes do you have for your child?
Right. I honestly, like, part of me hopes for a day in America or the world when this show becomes obsolete, because we no longer need to talk about Muslims not being terrorists and humanizing them. I really hope for that day, right? Because it hasn't happened in the last 10 years. And the show continues to be relevant. So this is the climate we live in.
And do you have support from other Muslims, because there are certain platforms whereby there are other things, art, other parts of culture, whereby there could be a symbiosis. Are you seeing some of that come to fruition to you? Like Oprah says, the universe sorts of once you put an intention out, the universe rises to meet you to achieve that intention. So are you seeing some of that in your accomplishment?
Yeah, I have to say, I think when I first started, it was like so unheard of. Like I remember, so in 2011, it was like I was part of this huge festival in New York, and it was the first time in the history of that festival that they had a Muslim performer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So a lot of the press I got that year, which was like in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and NPR, was the first ever Muslim American female solo show.
Wow. Okay.
Ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but that was the press. So maybe it was true. I don't know. And then so, it's just that,
well,
you
and
know.
it would have been hard to contextualize, because do they really have their eyes on every communal presentation?
Yeah.
So, but good for you.
But the first,
that you were authentic enough to gain notice in that way.
Yeah, I guess the first, like, the thing at that level, like in a big festival or something that they had ever heard of. And anyway, and that kind of is, you know, part of, like, I think, so the Muslim community was sort of not ready to be on board at that time. I got a lot of flack, a lot of feedback. We can call it that, feedback, about, like, they didn't like it. Why are you doing it? Why is the word lingerie in it? You know? And, and it's been...
That doesn't represent our culture.
People have very, visceral response to this kind of stuff. And I think because it hadn't been seen before, it hadn't been done before, you know. So, yeah,
but not that it's not that there are truth, because we were talking about traditional as opposed to modern Pakistani and Muslim culture. I mean, now an American Muslim woman, you assert, enjoys lingerie.
Why not? Yes.
Right? It's
yes.
not so well, but I mean, if in the context of what we've been told,
we all enjoy it.
You understand what I'm saying? It's just like it's an interesting thing, and that's why I would think that you maybe would get some more pushback from more traditional bodies.
Yeah, it's true. So, but I have to say, like over the years, the Muslim community has been some of my biggest supporters. In fact, we made this feature film. It's made outside of the studio system. It's an independent feature film. And it's made by, again, a hijabi, and she's also the first, right? Hijabi director who's, again, visibly Muslim, which also doesn't exist in film. And so all of our investors are Muslim. This film couldn't have existed without, yes.
Right.
So I have to give the Muslim community credit. Like, yes, there were some bumps in the beginning, but like people have really come out and supported the work in a major way. And they couldn't have gotten this far without the community.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what you might not know is that at 7 o'clock tonight, she's going to be doing the show, her one-woman show, right here on this stage. So if you're timely enough to hang around, and we hope you will, you'll be able to experience this wonderful artistry. And we thank you so much for your appearance here at the Sedona Arts Academy. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
We've had some really great things going on so far today. We've enjoyed some tasty bites, some fabulous fermented spirits. I believe that's what wine is. You can also make contributions to the Sedona Arts Academy in a way that is kind of cool for you, because you get a glass of wine. The kind of tips that go into the jar all go to benefit the Sedona Arts Academy. So that's a win-win for everybody, right? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from a few different folks, but the people that are sitting on the stage at this moment are literally the collective and the Sedona Arts Academy. More specifically, we have Gigi Rock and Camilla Ross. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a round of applause.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
In this particular instance, unlike the other interviews that I was doing up to this point, I feel like I have an onus to do just a little better, unless I have another job, right? Unless I have another invitation. But all jokes aside, I just have to know, ladies, oh my goodness, what? Let's start, because this is the first time I've spoken with you individually on an interpersonal level, but I've never had the opportunity to really kind of delve into what it was, a part of insanity a little bit, was it for you to form out in the VOC where there was nothing. I don't think that there was any real, there was some artistic things going on out here. My history goes back to the 90s, but what, Gigi, motivated you, and what motivated you to say, I want to bring arts to Sedona? So maybe we'll start here with you, Camilla.
I'm an artist. Arts are essential to life and living. Arts bridge that gap between people. And so I've been in the arts industry for over 40 years. And so when I moved to Sedona, I was like, where's
Last
the
year?
arts?
2 years ago?
No, that was 6 years ago. And I'm like,
6 years.
where is the theater? And there wasn't any that, you know, that I was used to seeing. And so, and I also needed something to do, because that's what I do for a living. And so I operate a theater company back east in Mystic, Connecticut, called the Emerson Theater Collaborative. And so I brought a portion of that here to Sedona, because it's in desperate need of culture. And what's important about the arts is that it bridges those cultures together. And so we can learn a lot from other cultures. And so that's what's important to me about what I do, is connecting people and collaborating and creating these moments for people to learn and learn earnestly, and not feel like they're being inundated with stuff that they don't want to learn or they don't want to hear about. So I can do it in a very graceful way through a play, through a conversation, through a stage reading, through any of those methods, through poetry, with, you know, having Sam J be here. You know, it's those things that connect people. Food is a great equalizer. So you feed them and invite kindness in the door. And I have this amazing saying that you leave your ego at the door and bring your heart inside. And once you do that, you'll find a whole lot of common groundwork with people.
Yeah, well, but I mean, there were a number of different ways you could have done that, Camilla. I mean, you didn't have to take on a whole space. You didn't have to take on, you know, I mean, you could have had amazing events at various venues. Why the ideation to have a dedicated space whereby, and you also didn't really mention that something that I know, not only is it that you bring in various cultural and theatrical vehicles, musical vehicles, but you're also doing educative components for
Absolutely.
youth.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Let us know about that. But what was the mindset? And I know that you're married, and I'm not meaning to make public your whole construct, but yeah, but I believe, you know, Jack is always, well, okay, right. I believe that that's public knowledge. But so I'm married as well, so I wonder, because it's a collective decision. So where was he where was Jack in the?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay.
Because this might be a new partner, if you will.
But he's always been by my side since the first inception of Emerson Theater Collaborative, because when we created that, it was an all-women venture. So we created, and he's been there from day one as our treasurer, and he's helped to keep us on that track. And so usually it's this, that I have these visions about things that I want to do, and I will go about creating those things. And so, and I am a people person in the respect that I will draw the necessary talent that I need to create whatever project that I want to do. And for me, I'm all about culture, I'm all about people, I'm all about being truthful and telling the truth. And we don't hear the truth enough. And so if I can do that in a way, in a medium, that's so much the better. Sedona has very limited space. So this, for me, is so important because the village needs space. People need space to do work. It's not just me here, but there's other people that do other things that need space for events. You know, they do open mic. We need, Maureen is going to do a vegan cooking class. I mean, how awesome is that? To be able to have a space and have that done. And things to do. And so,
said differently, you have the visions, you have the go and get it, and then Jack makes sure that it pencils, right?
Yeah. We need more grants.
That's a good way to put it.
So
we need more funding. Can bring those donations in here.
I've said
because it's necessary.
Absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
They always
That's a real
cut
marriage,
the arts,
right?
You know what I'm saying? But he's very instrumental in the work in which I do, and he always has been.
Right. And I know he's got quite a sense of humor as well.
Yes,
so that's
he does.
that's why I've been taking these gratuitous, you know.
I just tell people I'm not responsible for anything that he says or does. So we're good.
So, but how was the programmatic part for the children?
You know, my summer program, that was created in 2012 because we had a need for kids in the inner city to have a theatrical program in which they could do arts. Because a lot of the inner city kids cannot afford the type of programs that are traditionally put out there. Who can afford a $600 a week program?
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous. So we created our own summer program where it runs on a 9-to-3 schedule, 4 days a week. The kids come, they get a full lesson in life learning of theater. So they do costumes and they do music and they do all of those things that help to create a show. And by the end of the 4 weeks, they do a show. So by the time they're done, they get to do all of these amazing things. I have Noah in my sound booth tonight. He's 14.
Noah.
So we get to, enhance his life a little, and he gets to educate me. This is a tech kid, at 14. I need that, And so it's important that we take our youth and we embrace them and allow them to do the work that they're called to do, because they all have gifts.
So beyond just theatrical provision, beyond just the arts construct, you're also a community event space, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, it's a community center too.
Whereby there's this cross-pollination, weddings, birthdays, any
Birthday
expanded
parties,
venue
movies.
possibility.
Yeah, so there's a ton of possibilities. We have Piano on the Rocks coming this month, which, you know, Gigi helped to facilitate. There's so much a need for arts in this region that we can't say no. And I'm not going to say no.
Excellent. So beyond just the pinks and the Jeeps, we can have, you know.
I want Sedona to be the arts cultural destination for people to come to see professional theater, to see professional dance, to have these things, professional music concerts. These are the important things. Chamber Music Sedona will be here, you know, in May.
Bravo.
So, you know what I'm
Bravo.
saying? We need that in the village. It's not just we are Sedona, along with West Sedona and Uptown. We're all Sedona. So why separate? Why do that?
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
And so, Gigi, that kind of is a great intersection to pivot to you and the collective. Talk to us about, because I think the collective existed prior to the Sedona Arts Academy, or am I wrong-footed?
No, you're correct in that. The Collective Sedona changed its name back around 2016, I believe it was, to the Collective Sedona. It used to be called Tiqua Plaza, and it was basically a plaza with food and drink and a couple shops and a couple galleries and stuff like that. And I came on board to do the...
Pardon me.
God bless you.
Thank you. Jesus.
Yeah. And I came on board as a contractor to bring in events to the collective. Because my background, I have my own production company, and I've been in production for almost 30 years doing televised events and stuff. And came out, and that's how I met Camilla, was she wanted to do an event out here, and we just connected really well with each other, and we've been with each other for several years now. Really a long time when you think about it. And our husbands really are our backbones. They really help us in what we're doing. They kind of stabilize us, and because we do get rather crazy and do crazy things, and you know, they are that back there behind us helping us. So the collective, they have this beautiful space and outside and upstairs on the patio where we can do events. And I work with Camilla now, bringing other events into her space and events outside as well, because the arts, I'm really big into the arts as well. Not like her, like I don't really like being on stage and stuff like that. I'm Oz behind the curtain. I make things happen. She'll be in the forefront. But so we bring out all these different aspects of arts. You know, it's not just painting or singing, or there's a lot of things. And the one thing that she and I and Jack got to do together is we went down to the Solid Rock Foundation, which is Alice Cooper's foundation.
I'm familiar.
And
Alice and Cheryl Cooper.
Yes, and Alice has played in many of my celebrity events that I've had, and I know them. And I was telling her that they have this whole program for kids, and that's what we need to do for our children here, because the schools are taking away that opportunity, and that's one thing we can't lose, is the arts. And so we've made an agreement with Solid Rock Foundation to work on a smaller scale and bring out different events and from Solid Rock over to the Sedona Arts Academy, and work together to create programs just for kids. And in May, we have...
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah, we have Sophie, who's coming in. She is from the Solid Rock Foundation. She's a young artist. She's a singer-songwriter, guitar player, and she will be opening up for Peter Cater out on the lawn out here. And what we're trying to do is give those children that opportunity to be with these bigger stars, you know, these bigger celebrities, and learn from them. And that area was just phenomenal, what we went through, where they can learn to play guitar from the greats that are out there. And so we're bringing that up here too. So this space is really like a little domain for me. I'm very excited about it. But the collective as a whole, I work for the owners of the collective in contracting to bring different events into the space out here.
What would you say And thank you for that. Thank you for that, because I often find that it just takes a spark in the wilderness to create a synergy that is really effective in creating good for the whole community. So I appreciate your vision and your tenacity, both of you ladies, to be able to, because it's not as easy as it seems, the heavy lifting. And that's what I want to speak to. What was maybe your most difficult challenge? Because one would think when there's not, say for example, a harbor or a cabin in the woods, if you can just muster enough strength to cut down the trees and have a vision to build it accurately, that it's possible. It must have been a little more difficult, though, with the construct, from what I'm understanding, of people who are saying, why do we need that? I mean, we already have the red rocks, we already have balloons and helicopters and all sorts of wonderful things. Why do we need mandolin players or something out in the VOC?
Well, because not everybody wants to do all that other stuff, and we have a lot.
I mean, but did you meet with that as a challenge? That people really didn't understand the import of the inspiration that the arts imbibes?
And we still have that challenge. We're constantly coming up against that, where people are like, well, why do I want to go out and do that? Why do I need to go here? And it's what Camilla said earlier, is she's bringing different cultures, and she's bringing different artists out here. Sedona, and we love all the people around here, but when you start going to different plays, you're seeing the same artists and stuff that are doing those plays. She's bringing something totally different. She's pulling these people from the east, the west, the north, the south. That you might have, yeah, they come from everywhere. But just so people understand that there are different cultures that we need to embrace. And we're up against that with just our locals, right? Because if we want to do an event out here, they might say, well, why do you want to do that? And it's like, why wouldn't I want to do that? We were stuck in a pandemic. I'm in the entertainment world. I had nothing to do for a year. I drove my husband crazy.
Not you, Gigi.
The boy wanted to go do different things, and I was just like, in my mind, how does this look? How is this all going to play out? How are we going to manage bringing back, these events where people can socialize with one another without a mask on, and sit in the grass and enjoy good food and listen to music, because we have great artists around here that need to be heard
and really enjoy a different perspective, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, this is the interesting part about Sedona, because we do have such a visibility. I live a part of the year in Spain, which you all well know. And it's interesting because I can mention a number of different cities on the planet. They'll say, well, we come from London, we come from Paris. And then they'll say, well, you're from the United States. And I say, well, I'm from the Southwest, but I'm from a small town in Arizona. And they go, oh, yeah, the Grand Canyon. And I go, no, I don't live in the Grand Canyon, but I do, but I do live in Sedona. And they go, oh, it's always that. And inhale before Sedona. No, the red rocks, the magic there. Right. And so we're known for the most ascendant things, the most ascendant values. The beautiful red rocks, the vortexes in some
the spirituality that's brought here.
So it's interesting. That's why I asked that question, Gigi, and thank you for being so nice as to address it. Which is to say, what has been the on the ground challenge to be able to make these things and a regular programmatic content materialize here, and to make it solvent. This is why maybe Jack no longer has hair. Is that right?
That was not my fault.
I always say my other half has gray hair, but for a different set of reasons, right? Okay. Yeah. So, but Gigi, thank you so much. In a perfect world, what could you see could be the possibility for the arc, the most immediate arc for the collective? And I'm going to ask you the same question, Camilla.
Well, now that the state of Arizona has opened up, and it's given us the opportunity, those in the entertainment world, to bring back our festivals and our music festivals, and then of course the arts, to bring what we're trying to do. What I'm trying to do here is to bring back what we call the collective. That's why it was renamed the Collective Sedona, and bring people together to work together on the arts side, because I'm in entertainment. That's arts. No matter how you look at it, I'm doing what she does behind the curtain. She's in front of the curtain. And just making it all happen. So I was very excited when they said, we're open. And I'm like, oh, yay, we can do something. So we're already planning concerts out on the lawn. We're planning festivals that come later in the year. So we're laying the foundation out. And it's, we're coming off of this pandemic. So everybody's trying to get their footing, right? We're calling it the COVID haze, because everyone's like, oh, wait a second, we can do something now, and what does that look like? And so we are literally trying to maneuver our way around to make more events happen out here at the Collective.
And so to find out about that, all of our online friends could go to, is it www.SedonaCollective.com?
No, you're backwards, but hey, turn around.
The Collective Sedona.
TheCollectiveSedona.com.
So,
Yeah.
but she's an org, you're a com.
I'm a com. She's an org.
Excellent.
Someone has to be the org.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And same question to you, Camilla.
I've been working for the last year. I've been producing for the last year, safely. I've been, sort of not lobbying, but having these conversations with, Sedona about funding and how important it is for them to support the performing arts. We have visual arts, they support that, but we need that heavy duty support for the performing arts, because that's the magic that's missing from Sedona. You have all these other things, and what I bring here is top-notch professional quality theater that you can sink your teeth into. And so I want the city to come on ground and support the performing arts the way they need to. I mean, I would love to have $1 million budget just for that.
Boy, that would be nice.
Just for that, because we need that. And with the arts, we can do so much more as a community. And I'm all about community and building my community that lives within this village, as well as, West Sedona and Uptown.
The Verde Valley.
It is everywhere.
It's the Verde Valley.
We are the Verde Valley.
A number of tremendous artists, that
we need that. And so for me, it was about building community where I live. I love my community, but it needs so much more. We have amazing local artists that are here, that have amazing artwork. The privilege for me to bring Sadaf here and her work, that is an honor and a privilege for me. And it speaks to my heart that this woman can create this beauty and have you move the moment you walk in the door. That needs to be recognized and it needs to be honored. And I don't think we as a culture of people do that enough for all of these amazing artists. So for me, it's bringing those artists to the front, allowing them to be seen, allowing their work to be done and to be heard, because they deserve that. They have put in hours upon hours for that craft, and that is something that people will miss if it's not here.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they don't even know why, but their inspiration is gone. And so to that end, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Camilla Ross.
Thank you.
And for Gigi Rock, and for all of our online friends that are watching our live stream. Don't forget the SedonaCollective.com.
No, the Collective.
The Collective.
The Collective.
The Collective.
Sedona.
The Collective Sedona.
Good job.
.com. The Collective Sedona.com. And the SedonaArtsAcademy.org.
Yes.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, go to the websites and really see the upcoming content. And you'd be really surprised. Some really romantical evenings are happening here. It's not about volume all the time, but it certainly is about quality and, in this case, authenticity. So support your local businesses and, of course, support the arts. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Camilla Ross and Gigi Rock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Sedona Arts Academy. We hope that you've been watching with us for the last, say, hour and a half, 2 hours, as we're continuing to build towards our really fabulous artist feature and a one-woman performance tonight, and we might even get to have another treat of some beautiful poetry. With all of that said, to my right is this lovely lady, Debra Galloway, from the Sedona International City of Peace.
Yes.
So that's a mouthful.
It is.
That's a mouthful. And so can you tell us about the origins and
Sure.
Are you the creator? Are you the CEO, COO? Are you just a lovely lady that's concerned about the world?
I'm just on the board. And,
Amen.
Yep. So I'm on the board of directors, and Sedona International City of Peace started in 2012. We're part of an international Cities of Peace, which began, believe it or not, in Dayton, Ohio, by Fred Armand, who is still head of our organization. And Sedona became, I think we were the 34th International City of Peace.
Okay, chronologically.
Yeah. Now there are over 330.
Around the world.
Around the world.
And I do know a little bit about that.
Oh, good.
I do.
So the most recent one is Tehran.
Right.
Yeah.
And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And then prior to that, we also have 3 international cities of peace in China. So.
Long overdue.
Yes. Yeah.
Long overdue, and at least there's some. Tell us about what are the metrics by which a city can become a member? What is the mantra or ethos of your organization?
Well, we just changed our mission statement, so
There
if
you are.
I may read it. To nurture, inspire, and empower the community of Sedona to thrive and flourish while fostering a culture of peace through uplifting, engaging, and transformative community programs. Wow. And I know it's a mouthful. And our vision is we envision a culture of peace as one that respects our shared humanity. It ignites social connection that forms new and inspired traditions and ideas that uphold the highest values of the human heart.
Wow.
So that's what we're about.
Wow. And so then, when you go to these different cities, or how is it that you are connecting them? Is it through the internet? Is it through actual person-to-person connection?
Well, currently, there are occasionally opportunities for connection with other international cities, but basically each one sort of works within their own community or their own city.
To try to achieve those goals?
Yes, with specific programs. 2 of our signature programs has been the Human Library, which we're doing our 4th Human Library this year. And that actually began in Denmark. So the Human Library is an opportunity for listeners to come and experience a human book and hear about their story, with the intention being, once you listen to someone's personal story, it connects you on a heart level that is difficult to do otherwise. So it's because we all see through certain lenses, right?
There you are. Much like we were talking about Muslim, Islamic lenses, whereby whole cultures of people and whole ideologies are all typecast, if you will.
Right. It's like Sam J was saying, it's like we're all in these boxes, but it's not really that way. We're all unique individuals, unique expressions of God, if you will. So.
Amen.
Yeah.
So how is it that we could have a purview or a more personal interaction with the Sedona International City of Peace? Is there an online presence? Is there...
Yes, we do have an online presence.
Are there chapter meetings?
Redoing our website right now.
Church?
The signature program is the Human Library. That's always scheduled in September around International Day of Peace, which is officially the 21st. But this year, we always have the Human Library at the Sedona Public Library. And it's on a Sunday when the library is closed, so we can use that facility. So it'll be on the 20th of September this year. And last year we did it on Zoom, which is a new experience, but we're all pretty familiar with Zoom now.
Right, the COVID meeting.
Zoomed out. But anyway, it'll be live at Sedona Public Library and on Zoom, hopefully to have some connection with human books that are not actually in the Sedona area.
Which is excellent.
Yeah.
Is there a web presence that you could tell our viewers about and our audience tonight?
Sedona International Cities of Peace.com.
.com.
We're a .com, not a .org.
Excellent. And then is it a 501c3?
It is a 501c3, exactly.
And then you're an all-volunteer organization?
All volunteer. And we're always looking for more people to join us. We have a table in the back. One of our board members is a local artist. Her name's Myra Shutt, and she came up with a beautiful acronym for PEACE, which is people embracing all cultures equally.
Wow.
And yeah,
wow.
So we have some of her bumper stickers and coffee cups and things like that over in the back. So, and then our chairperson is Margaret Joy Weaver, who has been the president for 4 or 5 years now. So, and she was one of the founding members.
Wow. And then lastly, Debra, why Sedona International City of Peace? Why not International Cities of Peace?
Because Sedona, as we all know, because we live here, is a very special area. This is sacred land. It was sacred to Native American culture. No one lived here. They came here for ceremony. And you can see by the millions of people that are attracted to Sedona every year that we do offer something very special here. And right now, our latest project and how we're connected with Camilla is Myra, who I was just explaining, came up with the PEACE acronym. Her new project is Arts for Peace, and we're currently working on that. So it's partnering up with people in the arts community because we know how important art is. And, art is how God speaks to us, I feel, and it connects us. It's
thoroughly inspirational.
Yeah, yes. So,
ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And a round of applause to Mrs. Debra Galloway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much. Please welcome to the stage Sadaf Alam.
Thank you.
I have to start by saying, besides your just wonderful demeanor and great vibration, your name Sadaf Alam, I thought that was like a greeting or something instead of, hello, like, how are you today? And then in some country, oh no, Sadaf Alam. This is just my little take on it. And I know I live in my own universe, but so welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So now you made your way up from Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, to be with us this afternoon.
Yes.
So I remember that it was a little bit of a path that you came to the Sedona Arts Academy. Could you share that with our viewers and guests?
Sure. Actually, I'm on the board of a couple of organizations in Scottsdale. One of them is ISBA, or Islamic Speakers Bureau of Arizona. It's an interfaith organization, and they also work to educate people about the different faiths and cultures, if you will. And they were in talks with Aizzah Fatima, the actress that you just heard before. And she basically was in touch with the Sedona Arts Academy. And they were looking for Islamic or Pakistani art to go with her show. So she contacted ISBA, and ISBA, I've worked with them, so they asked me if I would be interested. So
you said absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, any chance that I can get to showcase Pakistani art and Islamic art, it's especially in Arizona, that's a very unique opportunity. So absolutely, yeah.
We were speaking before, and is there a wealth or a dearth of Pakistani art or art that has this kind of geometric approach, which is what we were talking about before? Do you have contemporaries?
Definitely.
I'm just saying in Scottsdale, in your close proximity.
Maybe not. There are some calligraphers I know, Arabic calligraphers, and there might be some other kind of artists, but not quite exactly what I do, or maybe I haven't gotten in touch with them somehow, but I don't think so, actually. Yeah. So.
And I was understanding, because we were looking at the pieces and I was seeing that there is a bunch of variants. I was also seeing that your aesthetic be very prevalent. And I was telling you about what my immediate impression of it was, and I thought it incorporated so many different things. And you were saying that you would describe your art as?
I describe my art as actually like a fusion between the old techniques of Islamic art. And Islamic art, by the way, encompasses all art that's created within predominantly Islamic world, and any art that's maybe created in that tradition. So as I was explaining earlier to you, the traditional Islamic techniques are very, very traditional. You're making paper on your own and grinding up, maybe stones to make the pigments and such. Yeah. So I'm not doing that. I'm using modern technology even to incorporate it. But the basic, I guess you could say, the aesthetic is Islamic, and by extension, Pakistani.
And so, and just to finish that wave of thought, that you're using actual laser cutting and laser iterations to be able to get more intricacy and the cross blending of different materials in a very specific way. Can you talk to us about that?
Laser obviously is a much newer technology. And I'm just amazed that people used to do this kind of thing by hand for centuries. But
that probably took them that long for one piece.
It was like a team of artists. That's what I have to remind myself. Well, okay, you're trying to do everything on your own, and you used to be a team of artists, and some people just did the red color, or just did the carving, or just did the tracing, or so on and so forth. I'm using modern technology. First, I usually start by designing on my computer, digital design, basically like a thumbnail, if you will, of what I'm going to do. And then I use usually my laser to either engrave or cut materials such as wood or acrylic or paper even. And I then use that in, either on another paper or canvas or other materials to bring the whole thing together.
Well, now, I appreciate the technical iteration of how you configure things, but we talked a little bit earlier, and what I thought was really fascinating, and from a true artistic bent, you were saying to me that, because I thought that there was a bit of fractal geometry in what you did, and I was saying that you brought up images or harkened me back to Escher and this kind of thing, this iterative kind of approach to art. But you were really nice enough to let me into the idea that you get not necessarily visions, but you get a concept that kind of comes to you. Can you talk to us about that? I think it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I realize that whatever comes out of your head or out of your mind is inspired by whatever has gone into that mind. So definitely, I have traveled to a lot of Islamic lands and I love, seeing architecture such as the Al Hamra, places in Morocco, things like that. So I don't know exactly how, but yes, I mean, eventually something just like, I get like a whole vision of my artwork in my head, like a flash of it, if you will. I don't know. So it's
Mariah
obviously...
Carey wrote a song about that vision of love, right? You know?
Maybe.
But it's nice that you can make it
It's a labor of love.
materialize
Yes.
in
Yeah.
such an organized, resonant way.
I mean, obviously, when I start working on it, then, you know, one thing leads to another, and then, you know, you might change the course a little bit. But in general, yeah, definitely having that library of inspiration in your head definitely can inspire you to create something, you know, just like that. So
I was also fascinated by when you were saying to me that you might have a vision, but it might be about one small pattern or one small impression, and then in certain iterations, like, for example, I know you all on the internet can't do this with us, but the audience that's here, if you look at the white painting here with the star in the middle, one would, as a pedestrian, surmise that that painting started as the star in the middle, and then the rest of the iteration for the painting came subsequent that. But when I talked to our artist, she said...
symmetry is a big thing in Islamic art. There's symmetry in like the arches and the Islamic art like patterns that you see.
It's iterative, yeah.
Exactly. So basically that artwork, the particular one that you are talking about, it's not apparent at first, but that's actually a fourfold design. So essentially what it is it's like a quarter that's designed and then repeated and then flipped over, so it makes a whole. And that is very much how it is with a lot of the artworks right here, actually, including the pink one, including the ones with the arches. A lot of it is just work that's like has symmetry in it. So that's very much a very big part of Islamic art and Pakistani art as well. Yeah.
Well, and so then as you go through them, I'm always fascinated as to how you come up with an accurate descriptor, because I think that it's your hope that having looked at the image and then read the descriptor you have, that they would divine, the pedestrian would divine more of what you had intended for having created it. Is that consistent?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I wanted both. I wanted it to obviously look visually appealing, just to look at it and you're attracted to it. But there's a meaning and there's a reason behind why I created what I created. It is definitely inspired by my background, you know, of Pakistan and Islamic art as well. Like the arches you see behind you, that has to do with my hometown, the architecture that's found there, and the Mughal influences, Mughal Empire that was in South Asia for several hundred years. That particular kind of artwork is prevalent, and you can kind of see many examples of that in my hometown of Lahore, Pakistan. So yeah, so that is inspired by that. But if you didn't know anything about that and you just looked at the artwork, I hope that it's visually appealing to just, you know, stand on its own just like that. Yeah.
I would say so. And as we start to culminate this intimate look at your work through your eyes, could you say, I know all of your children you love equally, but could you say, would it be that you had a theme that was more resonant with you around one of the particular pieces of art that we see here tonight? And then just as another thing, I understand that the reason why we don't see more of your collection is because your popularity prevents that from being possible, because as soon as you make a piece of art, it usually sells. So we really appreciate you for coming here to show us what you have standing. But back to this question of what might have been something that was more resonant with the process that you were going through in one of these pieces of art?
I would say there's probably a couple, because when I think back to what, you know, ignited this passion of getting into Islamic art, the few things that really did that were Mughal influence. So if you have seen any Mughal architecture or art, like for example the Taj Mahal, there's basically like the way the things are kind of carved and scroll work. And if you look at the Mughal pieces, such as like the sword sheets or jewelry boxes and things like that, encrusted jewels.
Yes.
So I looked at that many, many, many years ago, and I was just like fascinated by it, the symmetry, the colors, the the jewel-like quality of it. And in fact, it was probably real jewels back in those times. And I thought, how can I replicate that on canvas? So it's taken me years to kind of perfect that technique and everything and get to a point where I'm like, okay, this could pass for an actual jewel. Exactly. Yeah. So the one piece that we were talking about, the white colored piece with the gemstones on it, that one I would say. And the other one is the other piece that we were talking about earlier. That's based on the geometric principle behind the Lutfullah Mosque, which is in Iran, actually. That dome, the picture of that dome has always just attracted me so much. I've never seen it in real life. I've never been to Iran, but that geometry is just so beautiful that I explained a few years ago, I learned how to create that design just on paper using geometry and Islamic geometric art. All you need is a compass and a pencil and a ruler to create it.
Wow,
it's very simple, but you can create something so intricate. So once I did that and I learned how to do that, I was like, I have to do that on canvas. It's such a captivating geometric design. So those two pieces, I would say, definitely.
Thank you so much for explaining that and to let us into your artistic process. Is there a place where fans could come, or interested buyers, or just people who are interested to find out more about you as an artist could go?
Sure. I have a website, scarletscrollstudio.com. And I have SCARLET 1T. Yes, it's right there.
There you are.
Scarlet Scroll. I love the color red, which is appropriate for being in Sedona, actually. I just realized. But I just thought it might be easier for people to remember that than my name. But it's exactly that, scarletscrollstudio.com. But I regularly post on my Instagram, same handle, Scarlet Scroll Studio. Where you can see sometimes the process behind my artwork, the inspiration, and just day to day what I'm working on, basically. Yeah.
And then is this artwork going to be here for just tonight and tomorrow, or is it going to be here for an extended period?
It's going to be here, I believe, at least until the 17th.
Great.
While Aizzah is performing. So yes.
Great. Yeah. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to our lovely artist in residence. And instead of saying goodbye, I'll say Sadaf Alam.
Sadaf Alam to you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, Sedona and fans and supporters of Emerson Theater Collaborative. My name is Sandra Laub, and I'm a proud East Coast ETC member. Thrilled to have the opportunity of coming west to perform William Gibson's brilliant play, Golda's Balcony. Golda Meir, Prime Minister, stateswoman, politician, teacher, kibbutznik, Jew, mother, wife, lover. What a life, what a historic figure, what a singular political leader. This play asks the burning eternal question, what happens when idealism becomes power? It takes the moment in world history, the 1973 Yom Kippur War, and uses it as a starting point to explore Golda's life and the birthing of the State of Israel. I am so proud, so excited to be a part of ETC's one-woman shows, these plays put together this month. Aizzah Fatima's Dirty Packy Lingerie about Muslim women, and the story of this iconic Jewish woman, Golda Meir. Where else but in Sedona could you find theater like that back to back? Golda's Balcony plays Thursday, April 22nd at 7 p.m., and there's a talk back afterwards, and also Saturday, April 24th at 1. Buy your tickets in advance via the Facebook event link. Looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks. Bye.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Golda's Balcony is going to be performed here on stage next week. In the interim, we're going to do an old Hollywood thing, which is to hopefully divert your attention to this lovely gentleman here with some magical words while we transition this stage. So, with that said, Sam, hit it.
All right. Okay. My main message is unity and to motivate people to open up their hearts. And so we're able to come together as one to be able to unify. So I made a little something. So now's the time to motivate, to end the fear and decrease the hate, to open up our heaven's gate. We can make it better, it's not too late. Yeah, now's the time to love each other. I'm feeling grateful, let's embrace each other. Complete the pieces of our broken luck. I'm feeling home, it's time we live it up. 'Cause once upon a time, in Holy Land, there was crime. Sam J was born in the era and the dirty of the grime. With his deception, he just questioned his existence had no peace, but he fought with his shine in the belly of the beast. Wow. From Mideast to the West Coast, with palm trees and utmost gratitude to the sunny skies with the Holy Ghost. All praise to the Most High. I made a song to really boast. To his glory, a new story, a chapter in Aquarius, where we cleanse the old, heal the new world that we're guided to. 'Cause I pursue self-repentance and we are worth all acceptance. Glory in the greatness. So it's holding space for us to host. All praise to the host, all praise to the Most High. To the host, I'll give a toast. 'Cause I see a better world for you and me. No self-inflicted problems, just some unity. It's time to love ourselves unconditionally. It's time we make it out, and that's the prophecy. 'Cause I see how hard that you're working, see. It's time to make it better between you and me. It's time that we are one, and that's all I see. It's time to make it out, and that's the prophecy. Thank you. I think I have a little special something that I made earlier. Ooh, okay. This is called The Label. The label is a fable, a preconception by people who act like they have a halo. But let's turn the table, see the world through my eyes. A Palestinian Muslim man who the world used to despise. Putting dirt on my name, oh how they're spreading the lies. But there's a billions of us, so how do they not realize? Every human is unique from their size to their eyes. So I'm tired of all the slander, contradicting propaganda. With a smile on my face, spread some love when I embrace. It leaves most people so confused, they can't even look at my face. But I don't care how they feel, neither they care how I feel. 'Cause I'm just a grown-ass man that was just born to kill, right? Nah, I was born to heal humanity's sickness that's dividing the real. So I hold my shine. In Jerusalem, I was born a crime. Thank you. I think we're just about ready, but I think I have some other stuff I could share. I'm gonna give you guys a lyric that I wrote in a song called Epoch that I made. It is going to be on my album. The album is called The Prophecy Epoch, and it's gonna be done in the next few months. I'm really excited to get that album dropped. And so this is from a song that I made. We birthed a new epoch. Just wait till the light drop. It's about to create a new era just like hip hop. The downloads are nonstop, uploading to your hotspot. The storage in the DNA is about to really unlock. Expanding consciousness like I'm stepping out of my block. I'm reloading my Glock, we only got like one shot. Escape the Matrix, fam, I'm like Neo without no bots. Cause consciousness is off top, bump it in your freaking boombox. That's how we're gonna make it flow. To live our life so we can really grow. The end is near, it's not really though. It's a new beginning that I know. Cause them demons, they could freaking go. Did us dirty for some freaking gold. Now everybody's chasing those. Comparing sway, creating foes. Who starts the trends, yet no one knows. Just manipulating all the grows. Cause women got that God mind. So they limit how we really shine. So how could we just get it when the fear is just around us? Imagination going crazy, pressures all around us. Everybody's acting shady, ain't no one to really trust. A lot of people looking crazy. I'm gonna say it. So, how could we just get it when the fear is just around us? Imagination going crazy, pressures all around us. Everyone acting shady, ain't no one to really trust. Motherfuckers eating babies, feeding off our freaking lust. All the homies getting rabies, popping pills and sniffing dust. They wonder why I'm feeling hazy, man, this world is freaking nuts. See, I was born up in hell, the holiest of all the lands. But it's the people that are holy when it's time to just expand. So I'll say that again. It's the people that are holy. So I'm telling my fam, Jerusalem coming through, anchoring the whole new. I'ma do it for my race before they wipe us out too. So I'm calling on my might to conquer all my darkness in the shadow of the night. My might to conquer all the darkness in the shadow of the night. To polarize polarity and taking back our right as children of the earth and the anchors of the light. Holy land resurrected from the death of all its sight. New earth coming soon, Illuminati lost the fight. The God body's here just to turn the shift right. Good night. Thank you.